guys, it's Brooke. Welcome back to my channel. So just a quick reminder before we start this video. You guys have the chance to be featured in my Q&A, which I'm going to be posting very soon. So if you guys want to be featured in it, make sure you guys go to Twitter and use the hashtag AskBrooke and tweet me at brookeelardo and ask me any questions that are on your mind, and I will be answering them in my Q&A, and of course I will feature you guys in the video. Now let's get into this video. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about Hurricane Sandy and the effects it had on my house. I have mentioned a few things here and there about Hurricane Sandy and what it did to my house in some of my other videos, but today I'm going to be going into detail and showing you guys a bunch of pictures, so let's get into this. So Hurricane Sandy hit October 29th, 2012. I was in 9th grade, and I remember nobody thought it was going to be as big as the news was making it seem. Hurricane Irene had happened a little while before Hurricane Sandy hit, and when the news was talking about Hurricane Irene, they made it sound like it was going to be this huge hurricane, that everybody's houses were going to be destroyed and flooded, and the media made it seem like a very dangerous storm that was going to cause a lot of damage to people's houses. So I remember that happening and everybody being so worried. Everyone was nervous about it. Me and my family were like scared that we were gonna have to pack some stuff. I live on the water, so we were really nervous that our house was gonna get flooded. We packed up a lot of stuff. We did not sleep home because we were scared that our entire house was gonna get destroyed and flooded, so we slept at my uncle's house. And I just remember it being like so scary at the time, the thought of this Hurricane Irene. And then when it actually hit, it wasn't as big of a deal as the media made it seem. Yes, it was still a hurricane, I guess, but it was mostly just like a lot of rain. It wasn't really a huge deal. Maybe a few trees came down, but no real damage happened. I did hear some people's basements got a little flooded, but that's kind of normal when we have big storms. It was kind of just a big storm. I wouldn't have thought of it as a hurricane. But the media made it seem like this huge deal where everybody's houses were going to be destroyed. So come 2012 to Hurricane Sandy, the news is again making Hurricane Sandy seem like a very big deal and making it seem like this was going to destroy everybody's houses, and that it was a huge hurricane and it was really going to and that it was really gonna flood everywhere. This time, nobody was really taking it too seriously. I feel like mutually everybody kind of just thought, oh, it's just gonna be like Hurricane Irene. Nothing really big is gonna happen. You know, I think people who have basements were just moving a couple things up, but that was really it. But because of what the media made Hurricane Irene seem like it was going to be, nobody was really taking Hurricane Sandy too seriously. I mean, I know my dad was really nervous about it, and like everyone was pretty nervous about it. Like they were getting groceries and stuff because like still you're scared when you're hearing like there's gonna be a hurricane. You want to like make sure you're gonna be safe and like that you have food and water and generators and all that stuff. But I don't think it was being taken as a huge threat because everybody saw what happened with Hurricane Irene, so they pretty much figured it would be the same thing. But it wasn't. So I remember the morning that Hurricane Sandy hit. It was kind of weird that there was gonna be a hurricane that night that was going to be so insane. And I remember walking outside to see my backyard, and because I live on the water, normally before we have a storm, I can kind of tell because the water will rise very high. Like there's high tide and low tide, and the high tide will be like way higher than normal high tide. So I'll always kind of know when there's gonna be a storm or something. And this day, the water had already risen above my bulkhead. So it actually was already taking over my yard, and the storm hadn't even begun yet, but the tide had risen so high. So me, my dad, and my mom and sister already knew that this was not going to be good. Our house is one of the highest elevated houses on our block, apparently. Like the land it's on is like raised higher than our neighbors' houses and stuff. So we all kind of figured that the water would come pretty close to the house and that there could be a slim chance a little bit would get in our house, but we weren't too worried about it. So the room I'm in now is actually a part of what used to be my garage. And during Hurricane Sandy, we kind of just like, were looking in the garage and we were like, all this stuff will kind of be okay. You know, we had this big dresser drawer, and in it had like all of me and my sister's DVRs, all of our VCRs, It had a bunch of like our books we had written when we were little kids, which were so funny. It had a lot of pictures in it, and because it was a few inches off the ground, we figured that all that stuff would be okay. So we left it down here, and then when you're in this garage part, you could walk up like 3 steps into like the main section of my house, and that's like obviously higher up. So we figured everything in there would be fine. We didn't move anything upstairs where my old room used to be when this hurricane happened. Everything we kind of just left. So then that night we took my dog and all of us went to my aunt's house in Garden City because she has a brick house and we figured we would be safest there. I remember sitting on the couch and just like watching the rain downpour. Like, it was nuts. I had never seen it rain so hard in my life, and the wind was terrifying. I was just staring at the trees swaying like crazy, and I literally was just like, these trees are gonna fall down and like fall into this house. I was so scared. But yeah, so I kind of couldn't sleep all night. My dad was having trouble sleeping, and that morning my dad went early to go see what had happened to the house. What he expected was nowhere near the damage that was done to everybody's houses. I mean, everything was destroyed. My dad wasn't even able to drive all the way down my block because there was so much water filling my entire block. I remember getting text message pictures of the tree across the street from my house on fire, and I remember my dad telling my mom that our house got wrecked, and I was trying to picture what it would look like, and I couldn't imagine like the damage it had done and like what it had ruined. So basically like 2-3 feet of water came into this entire garage. It literally was just completely filled. Thank God my room wasn't down here at the time, and neither was my sister's or my dad's. There was a lot of things back here, like our washer and dryer. There was like my dad's car, a bunch of antiques. There was all of our videos, like a bunch of our memories, all just like destroyed. It was heartbreaking. I remember going to the house like a couple days later and just like looking through everything that was destroyed and deciding what we have to get rid of and what to keep, and we basically had to get rid of everything. So there was about 2 to 3 feet in here, and then in the main part of my house there was a couple inches. Now I know a couple inches doesn't sound like a lot, but when there is salt water in your house, even if it's like the tiniest bit, everything is destroyed. All of the floors need to come up. We had to get rid of all of our couches. We had to get rid of literally everything because the salt water destroys everything and would cause mold in the house. It could make mold in the sheetrock and like the walls and stuff. So we literally had to take out all of the walls, all of the floors. Everything had to be replaced. My kitchen had to be replaced. All of my cabinets, all of my stoves. We didn't replace my table, but we had to replace the chairs. We had to replace practically everything. It was nuts. And I am going to be showing you guys a bunch of pictures of what my house looked like so you can hear me talking while also seeing all the destruction it caused. I remember my grandma telling me she went to go see the house and see the damage that happened, and she said she just like started crying because she felt horrible. So obviously we weren't able to live in my house, so we lived at my grandma's for like months and months, like maybe 3-4 months we were living at my grandma's. The next day after Hurricane Sandy was Halloween. Nobody went out. There was not one trick-or-treater. There was not one decoration. And for years after that, nobody celebrated Halloween really. Actually, up until this year's Halloween, I would say people started decorating more and stuff. They're finally getting back into the Halloween spirit, but everybody's decorations were destroyed. Everybody's houses were destroyed. Nobody wanted to deal with having a happy Halloween when it was actually the worst Halloween possible. So I remember like anytime I'd be going to my house and like trying to help around or something, there would literally be food trucks just driving down our blocks giving people food. The Red Cross would be giving pizzas to people. Nobody had food. Nobody had the money for food because they were trying to fix their houses so they could have somewhere to live. I mean, I had never seen so much destruction in my life. There were so many trees down. Every corner you turned down, there was a tree that had fallen. And yeah, I mean, it was just horrible. It was horrible, and it put people out of their homes for years. I mean, seriously, there are still houses today around my blocks that are being lifted and raised high up, so in case this ever happens again, their houses won't be flooded. There's still people who are trying to get money from like flood insurance, who are trying to fix their houses. Like, this is still damaging people today, which blows my mind. And I remember how long it took me to get back into my house, and like how long it took us to finally get the money from our flood insurance, and the fight we had to go through to get that money to fix our house. It was insane, and it was heartbreaking to see so many people struggling and just everything just destroyed. Everything people worked so hard for destroyed. Every memory people had destroyed. It's horrible. It's so sad. And you know, nothing really bad like that had ever happened where I live, you know? I mean, as long as I've been alive, all I've really experienced were, yeah, some bad blizzards with a couple feet of snow, but that's kind of normal. You kind of expect like snow, but never anything like this before, ever. It was horrible. Like, thinking of it, talking about it makes my heart sink to my stomach, because I just remember all the people who were like homeless, like all the people who were eating out of food trucks and relying on food trucks for food. My dad was living home trying to fix it all as fast as he could, and I hadn't lived with him for months. I was sleeping in my grandma's house upstairs on a blow-up mattress next to my mom. It was a very small mattress, a very uncomfortable mattress. It would halfway deflate always in the middle of the night. It was very, very uncomfortable, and I had to sleep on that for months and months and months. But you know, as horrible as the hurricane was, I tried to think positively about it, and I think that a lot of people would do the same and say the same. And as much destruction as it caused, it also caused a lot of new houses being able to be built. And I, for one, my whole entire garage turned into separate rooms for me and my sister, so we finally had our own rooms. This is my room. One day I'll do a room tour for you guys. I got to design this all myself and have it the way I wanted, and I absolutely love my room. My whole house got to be redone, which in the moment, yeah, it was horrible that we had to do this, but you know, we wanted to redo the inside of our house for a while, and we got to really make it look nice how we wanted it. So I mean, so as horrible as it was, I try to think of it in a more positive light, and I try to see like everything that people gained out of it, like getting to rebuild their houses and remodel their houses and get bigger houses or change their siding or get new furniture. But at the same time, I'm sure there are people who weren't able to do that, who didn't have flood insurance, who weren't able to afford really anything, and I'm sure there are a lot of people still struggling, and it breaks my heart, you know? So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say much about the hurricane besides that it was a pretty traumatic time, and I really, really, really hope nothing like that ever happens again, because if it does, my entire room will be destroyed. But yeah, I hope that you guys found this story interesting. I'm not really sure. I kind of like to have a purpose behind my videos, but yeah, I mean, I guess what I'd want you guys to take away from this video is that even in horrible times, you know, you can make it through it. Don't give up. Stay positive, as horrible as the times are. I remember crying quite frequently because I just wanted to be in my house. I missed living with my dog. My dog was with my dad here, so I didn't really get to see my dog, which like was heartbreaking because she's my best friend. But yeah, we fought through it and we made it. I like to think that God has a reason for everything, and my favorite quote is, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. Also make sure you subscribe to this channel. I post videos every single Monday and Friday. And also please subscribe to my second channel. I post singing videos every Wednesday and some Sundays I try, but I'm not doing so great on that right now. But I promise you, I'm trying my hardest to get in these singing videos twice a week, and I promise when summer comes, there will be no doubt there will be 2 videos up every single week. So yeah, comment down below if you guys were ever affected by a big storm or something like that has ever happened to you. Maybe you were affected by Hurricane Sandy, which would mean we kind of live close to each other, which would be kind of crazy and cool. And yeah, I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Always stay positive and know that I love you guys very much. Thanks for watching.